He was a ruthless general once feared as a tyrant, yet he became Rome's most beloved emperor, hailed as the delight of mankind. This is the astonishing transformation of Titus, a ruler truly too good to last. You're about to discover how a man with a scandalous past, fresh from brutally crushing the Jewish rebellion, ascended the throne and defied all expectations. What radical change of heart transformed this feared figure into a paragon of generosity and compassion, even amidst devastating natural disasters? Drawing from Suetonius's Lives of the 12 Caesars, we'll explore Titus's brief but impactful reign, his leadership during the eruption of Vesuvius, the completion of the Colosseum, and the secret to his universal popularity. We're cutting through centuries of legend to reveal the unfiltered truth of a truly exceptional Roman emperor. If you're ready to uncover the secrets behind Rome's most cherished ruler, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. Titus Flavius Vespasianus Augustus. Titus, who shared his father's name, was adored by all. His natural talent, charisma, and good fortune earned him universal favor. This was particularly remarkable because, before becoming emperor, and even during his father's reign, he faced public disapproval. He was born on December 30th, in the year of Caligula's death, near the Septizonium, in a modest dark room that still exists and is shown to visitors. Titus was educated in the palace alongside Britannicus, receiving instruction in the same subjects and from the same tutors. During this time, a physiognomist, brought in by Claudius's freedman Narcissus, reportedly examined Britannicus's features and declared he would never be emperor. However, he predicted that Titus, who stood nearby, would. Their closeness was such that Titus, sitting next to Britannicus at a meal, is thought to have tasted the fatal poison that ended Britannicus's life. He contracted an illness from it that lingered for a long time. In memory of these events, Titus later erected a golden statue of Britannicus in the Palladium and dedicated an ivory equestrian statue to him, which is still carried in the Circensian procession today. Even as a boy, Titus displayed remarkable intellectual and physical gifts, which became even more pronounced with age. He was handsome, possessing a blend of majesty and grace. Though not tall and somewhat corpulent, he was very strong. Gifted with an excellent memory and a talent for both peaceful pursuits and warfare, he mastered weaponry and riding. He was fluent in Latin and Greek, both in verse and prose, and could deliver extemporaneous speeches and poetry with ease. He was also musically inclined, able to sing and play the harp beautifully and skillfully. Many reported that he was remarkably quick at shorthand and, in jest, would challenge his secretaries to imitate any handwriting he saw, often remarking that he was admirably qualified for forgery. Titus served with distinction as a military tribune in both Germany and Britain, demonstrating great activity, modesty, and a good reputation. This is evident from the numerous statues with honorary inscriptions erected to him in those provinces. After his military service, he frequented law courts, though with more acclaim than consistent effort. Around this time, he married Aricidia, the daughter of Tertullus, a knight who had been a prefect of the Praetorian Guards. After her death, he married Marcia Furnilla, a woman of noble family, but later divorced her, retaining their daughter. Upon completing his quaestorship, he was promoted to commander of a legion and captured the strong cities of Tarichaea and Gamala in Judea. In one battle, his horse was killed beneath him, and he immediately mounted another, whose rider he had just encountered and slain. Soon after, when Galba became emperor, Titus was sent to congratulate him. Everywhere he went, he attracted attention, with many believing the emperor had sent for him to adopt him. However, finding Rome in turmoil again, he turned back. Consulting the oracle of Venus at Paphos about his journey, he received assurances that he would himself obtain the empire. These hopes were quickly reinforced. He was left to complete the reduction of Judea. During the final assault on Jerusalem, He personally killed 7 defenders with as many arrows and captured the city on his daughter's birthday. The soldiers' joy and devotion were so great that, in their congratulations, they unanimously hailed him as emperor. When he prepared to leave the province soon after, they tried to detain him, begging him, even threatening him to either stay or take them all with him. This incident fueled suspicions that he intended to rebel against his father and claim the eastern provinces for himself. The suspicion grew when, on his way to Alexandria, he wore a diadem during the consecration of the ox Apis at Memphis. Though he did this only in compliance with an ancient religious custom, some interpreted it negatively. Therefore, he hastened to Italy, arriving first at Rhegium, then sailing in a merchant ship to Puteoli, and proceeding to Rome with all possible speed. Presenting himself unexpectedly to his father, he contradicted the strange rumors by declaring, "I have come, father, I have come." From that time, he consistently acted as his father's colleague and, effectively, as regent of the empire. He celebrated a triumph with his father, jointly held the office of censor, and served as his colleague not only in the tribunician authority but also in 7 consulships. Taking on the care and inspection of all offices, he dictated letters, wrote proclamations in his father's name, and delivered his father's speeches in the Senate in place of the quaestor. He also assumed command of the Praetorian Guards, a position previously held only by Roman knights. In this role, he acted with great arrogance and violence, eliminating without hesitation those he most suspected. He secretly sent agents into the theaters and military camps to demand, as if by general consent, that suspected individuals be handed over for punishment. Among these was Aulus Caecina, a man of consular rank, whom Titus invited to supper and then ordered stabbed immediately after he left the room. This act was provoked by an imminent danger, as Titus had discovered a document written by Caecina outlining a plot among the soldiers. While these actions secured his future, they also earned him such public hatred that scarcely anyone ascended to the empire with a more odious and disliked reputation. In addition to his perceived cruelty, Titus was suspected of excessive luxury, often prolonging his revels until midnight with riotous companions. He was also rumored to be promiscuous due to the numerous catamites and eunuchs surrounding him, and his well-known attachment to Queen Berenice, to whom he reportedly promised marriage. Furthermore, he was thought to be greedy, as it is known that he would sell his influence and accept bribes in cases brought before his father. In short, people openly expressed an unfavorable opinion of him, predicting he would become another Nero. This prejudice, however, ultimately worked to his advantage, boosting his praise to the highest degree when he proved to possess no vicious tendencies, but, on the contrary, the noblest virtues. His entertainments were pleasant rather than extravagant, and he surrounded himself with such excellent friends that succeeding emperors adopted them as most beneficial to themselves and the state. He immediately sent Berenice away from the city, much against both their wishes. Some of his old eunuchs, though highly skilled dancers who held sway on stage, were not treated with extraordinary kindness. He wouldn't even witness their performances in a crowded theater. He violated no private rights, and if anyone refrained from injustice, he did. He even refused allowable and customary offerings. Yet, in generosity, he was inferior to none of his predecessors. After dedicating his amphitheater and swiftly constructing nearby warm baths, he entertained the people with magnificent spectacles. He also staged a naval battle in the old Naumachia, in addition to gladiatorial combats, and brought 5,000 wild beasts of all kinds into the theater in a single day. He was by nature extremely benevolent. While all emperors after Tiberius, following his example, refused to validate grants made by former princes without their own sanction, Titus confirmed them all with one general edict, without waiting for individual applications. He sent no petitioner away without hope. When his ministers pointed out that he promised more than he could deliver, he replied, "No one ought to go away downcast from an audience with his prince." Once at supper, realizing he had done nothing for anyone that day, he uttered the memorable and justly admired saying, "My friends, I have lost a day." More specifically, he treated the people with such courtesy on all occasions that, when presenting a gladiatorial show, he declared he would manage it not according to his own fancy, but that of the spectators, and he did so. He denied them nothing and frankly encouraged them to ask for whatever they pleased. Supporting the Thracian faction among the gladiators, he frequently joined in the popular demonstrations in their favor, but without compromising his dignity or committing injustice. To seize every opportunity for popularity, he sometimes used the baths he had built himself, without excluding common citizens. During his reign, some dreadful accidents occurred: an eruption of Mount Vesuvius in Campania, a fire in Rome that lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and a plague almost unprecedented in severity. Amidst these many great disasters, he demonstrated not only the concern expected of a prince but also a father's affection for his people. He comforted them with proclamations and relieved them to the utmost of his power. He chose commissioners by lot from among men of consular rank to repair the losses in Campania. The estates of those who had perished in the Vesuvius eruption without heirs were used to repair the ruined cities. Regarding the public buildings destroyed by fire in the city, he declared that no one but himself should suffer loss. Accordingly, he applied all the ornaments of his palaces to decorating temples and for public benefit, and appointed several men of equestrian rank to oversee the work. To relieve the people during the plague, he employed all means, both human and divine, through sacrifice and medicine. Among the calamities of the time were informers and their agents, a breed of villains who had flourished under the license of previous reigns. Titus frequently ordered these individuals to be scourged or beaten with sticks in the forum. Then, after forcing them to parade through the amphitheater as a public spectacle, he commanded them to be sold as slaves or banished them to rocky islands. To discourage such practices in the future, among other measures, he prohibited successive lawsuits under different laws for the same cause, and he barred inquiries into the affairs of deceased persons after a certain number of years. Having declared that he accepted the office of Pontifex Maximus to keep his hands undefiled, he faithfully adhered to his promise. After that time, he was neither directly nor indirectly involved in the death of any person, though he sometimes felt justified anger. He swore that he would perish himself, rather than prove the destruction of any man. When 2 men of patrician rank were convicted of aspiring to the empire, he merely advised them to desist, stating that sovereign power was disposed of by fate, and promised to grant anything else they desired. He also immediately sent messengers to the mother of one of them, who was far away and deeply anxious about her son, to assure her of his safety. He even invited them to supper with him, and the next day at a gladiatorial show purposely seated them close by him, handing them the combatants' weapons for inspection. It is also said that, having had their nativities cast, he assured them that a great calamity was impending on both of them, but from another hand and not from his. Though his brother continually plotted against him, almost openly inciting armies to rebellion and attempting to escape, Titus could not bring himself to put him to death or banish him. He continued to treat him with the same respect as before. From his first accession to the empire, he consistently declared his brother his partner in it and his successor, sometimes privately begging him, with tears in his eyes, to return the affection he had for him. Amidst all these favorable circumstances, he was cut off by an untimely death, a greater loss to mankind than to himself. At the close of public spectacles, he wept bitterly in the presence of the people and then retired to the Sabine country. He was rather melancholy because a sacrificial victim had escaped while he was performing a sacrifice, and loud thunder had been heard in a clear sky. At the first resting place on the road, he was seized with a fever. As he was carried forward in a litter, they say he drew back the curtains and looked up to heaven, complaining heavily that his life was being taken from him though he had done nothing to deserve it, for there was no action of his that he had occasion to repent of but one. What that was, he neither disclosed himself, nor is it easy for us to guess. Some imagine he alluded to his former connection with his brother's wife. But Domitia solemnly denied it under oath, which she would never have done had there been any truth to the report. Indeed, she would certainly have gloried in it, as she was quick to boast of all her scandalous intrigues. He died in the same villa where his father had died, on September 13th, 2 years, 2 months, and 20 days after succeeding his father, and in the 41st year of his age. As soon as the news of his death was published, everyone mourned for him as for the loss of a close relative. The Senate assembled hastily, before they could be summoned by proclamation, and initially locking their doors, then opening them, they gave him such thanks and heaped upon him such praises, now that he was dead, as they never had done while he was alive and present among them.